just the spirit. And the boomers, that's the next generation under. And it's funny because we talk about boomers now, like, you know, they older now, you know what I mean, but back then they were hippies.
They call them hippies. That's right.
Yeah, they was on other things. Okay, so right now, right, as far as gang banging, right, we can kind of encapsulate that whole thing because it's not what it used to be, but I think the black on black killing that's where that started.
That's where it started. From gangs.
What was when y'all started to see that or hear about that? What was y'all first reaction like? Because first of all, was it like that for you when you were growing up? Were we killing each other like that?
No.
No.
Hey, the kids have a fight today, and 30 minutes later, everything's everything.
Right.
No knives, no guns, no nothing.
Right.
But when my girls grew up, it was the same way. But when it went off into the 80s, the last part of the 70s and 80s, that's when the gangs come in. I don't know how they got started or nothing.
Right.
But that's when the gangs started coming in.
Yeah. So I'll tell you how they got started. It started out in LA. And it got so popular that it bled all over the country. But there's a guy named Charleston White from Fort Worth who pretty much he the way he explains it is really the truth, and he says just really a bunch of boys following boys.
Yeah.
That's how it came to be because, you know, these are teenagers who started this. These are 17, 18-year-olds who start this, and, you know, it's become a phenomenon that still today haunts us as far as, you know, the black on black killing. In the I would say in the 80s to 90s is when that really became a problem as far as us each other. And now where it's become is now it's been the same thing, but what we seeing now is now the kids are getting younger and younger.
Oh, they are.
So nowadays, like, it's so crazy right now, Annie. I right now at 33, I wouldn't have no argument with a 16, 17-year-old.
Oh, no.
Because a 16, especially me being a man and a black man, if I say something wrong that he don't like, 16-year-old blow my head off right now.
That's
and
right.
they got
don't think nothing about it.
And don't think nothing about it. So that's kind of where we at today. So my last question to you is going to be, what do you think we need to do for the village to come back? Because I think for us, everything we talked about in this interview, everything that's going on, like, even with you, it sounds like at one point we had the village and then the village was gone.
Yeah.
And that was our pride, our self-pride, all of that type of stuff. And now we don't have it no more. So what do you think would have to happen for us to get it back?
We would have to have communities.
Okay.
And each household would need to know the other one.
Right.
Right now, you live on this side, you live in the middle, somebody live on this side of you, you may not yet know them.
Right.
On that side, you wouldn't know them. But to get a village back, you would have to get the community to work together.
Right. So yeah, pretty much it sounds like you're saying we need to go back to being actual neighbors.
We have abandoned. This is like me. I'm from the north side. Here I am stuck over here on the east side.
Right.
Everybody that was grew up over there have mostly all moved away. They have spread it all over Fort Worth.
Right.
And during the time when I was growing up, our street was full of children. The parents were all there. Now I could walk down the street where I was raised, and I wouldn't know nobody on the street.
Right. Right. So what it sounds like too is on a deeper level too. Like we need to maybe own our property too.
That's right. We abandoned it.
Right.
We abandoned it.
Right. We abandoned it. We let our property go, and
We
with gentrification,
we abandoned it. That's true.
Yeah. Even with gentrification, I mean, like you see it happening with the South Side, Stop 6, to where they buying people off it and they knocking projects down, and they building shopping centers and all of that over there because they really want the city back because it once was theirs. So let me ask you this: this is the big topic today. The word, right?
Right.
We know where the word came from. We know back in the slave days, that's what they called us.
Right.
And after a while, we stopped wanting to be called that word. First of all, if a white person was to call you, would you be offended by it?
Yes.
Yes. And why? Why? This is purely just to get your point of view.
Okay. Number one, I'm not a.
Right.
I am a colored Negro.
Okay. Okay.
So, if to be called would he want to be called a cracker?
Right. 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 Okay. Okay.
So, that's why I stay in my lane.
Right.
I don't do very much venturing out because I got a chance to see roots.
Okay.
And nobody should be treated like those people were treated.
Right. 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 So so Pops was telling me he got an interesting perspective on that word. He asked me the same thing. He said, if they called you that with the hard ER, would you be offended? And I said, yeah, probably punch him. And he said, why? And I said, well, because that's a derogatory term. Like that's a pretty nasty term. And he said, well, that was the name of our race at one time. And just to give it more perspective, his whole brand, his logo, everything, his thing is Texas. He calls himself Texas. And he takes pride in that word. And he says that, especially my generation, he said, your generation shouldn't be offended by being called that word because y'all not niggers. And I'm like, what you mean? And he said, you couldn't take no lashings to your back. You couldn't work outside all day in the sun. You couldn't look out for your neighbor and brother like they looked out for each other. Them people, he said, them were great people. You know what I'm saying? They were great people.
They were.
And so that kind of gave me another perspective on that word because at the time I'm like, yeah, nah, it's on. If a white man called me that, I'm gonna try to make that the last time he ever say that word. So that was some perspective he gave me. So let me ask you this. In today's world, Mexicans use that word a lot, especially my age. And for me, I'm going to be honest with you, because they always did it. Like from the time I was in kindergarten, once we started saying, they started saying nigga.
That's
like,
right.
And mind you, they don't say it in the ER. They don't say hard ER. They say it just like we would say it to each other. Like, I got Mexican homeboys right now that'll call my phone. Hey, what's up, my nigga? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I don't feel like they can't say it, but some people do. So what's your opinion on people that aren't black saying, but in the endearing way? Right. Do you have a problem with that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. You why? Well, what's your reasoning?
I don't. What do you call him? When he
Right.
call you, hey, my nigga.
I say it back like, "What's up, my nigga? What you on? Or what you got going, my nigga?" You know, just
Okay. Well, hey, if you like it,
yeah. No. Look. See, me first, Annie. I'm the type of person to where like there's no wrong answer to this question. Like, there's no wrong answer.
okay.
And if you could teach me why I shouldn't accept that,
No,
then
I'm
teach
not
me.
gonna tell you not
Yeah.
to accept it from your friends
Right.
because we call each other.
Mm-hmm.
We can do it, but that's just the way I feel about it.
Right.
I don't want. Well, I don't have no white friends, so
And I can't say it's
I don't
different
have
with
to
them.
worry about them
Right.
calling me.
Right. And I'll say this too to add more to it. It's different with white. Like, if you first of all, the white friends I have don't talk like that to say what's
Right,
up, my. So if you were to
right.
say that, I would be like, well, what did you on today? As to where my Mexican partners, they do talk like that. Like, that's
Right.
this is the way I see
but
it.
they are as close to being as
Anybody.
anybody.
Right. And I view it that way too. And then the way I view it, just being real, is that I feel like they mimic us. They dress like us. They talk like us.
Hey, they would rather be a nigga
Right.
than anything in the world.
Right.
So, I might could take it from one of them.
Yeah, because that's my view on it, is that it's
Because
almost like
that's
this.
a friend.
Right.
That's a friend.
Right. It's almost like this too. Let's say you have a little brother or you have a little sister, so you know exactly what I mean. Let's say you have a younger sibling and they want to be like you. They want to talk like you,
Yeah.
walk like you, dress like you. And so let's say you have a bad habit. Let's say you smoke or whatever.
Right.
And they pick it up. You know what I mean? And you might even be mad at them, like, "Hey, don't do that." But at the end of the day, you realize that, man, you only doing this because I'm doing it. That's how I look at the word with Mexicans.
Yeah.
It's like, y'all say it because we say it. If
That's
that
true.
wasn't a part of our lingo, y'all wouldn't use it.
They wouldn't.
So that's how I look at it. And then there's another guy named Charleston White. Once again, I've referenced. He had a good answer on why he don't think they should say it, and he was just saying, you can't go be with your grandmama and them. You can't do that with them. If you were to go to prison, the Mexicans in prison not gonna let you be a nigga. You know, they gon' in prison you gotta pick a side when it comes to race.
You have.
So that's why he feel like y'all shouldn't use it, because you can't do it around your grandmama. You can't, you speak Spanish with your grandmama. You don't say, you don't talk black to your grandmama. You don't, or you don't talk black when you go to prison so that was his reason. And so, pretty much, Annie, I want to thank you for taking time out today and doing this with me. This summer I'm starting, and I just want to just talk to people and learn the history and learn how life was for you. And it looks like, your story needs to be heard, because, everybody thinks that it was bad, and it was, most black people had a rough growing up experience, but it sounded like it wasn't that bad for you. It sounded like you didn't have too many bad run-ins with white people, and I'm glad.
I didn't.
I'm glad, because that's the case for me too. Of course, I'm born in 1990, and the world had completely changed.
Completely.
But by the time I'm even, old enough to realize it, even when I'm young,
It was a completely different thing.
yeah. So I didn't really see that side of white people.
No,
so
you didn't.
yeah, I didn't get to see it, and I'm glad I didn't. So, man, we're gonna wrap it up right there. Annie, I appreciate you. I love you to death. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am.